So just optimizing the actual contact with initial leads, that can be a massive, massive shift. And one of the best ways that you can do that is through getting back to them faster. So I've talked about the speed of contacting new leads before, but suffice to say that if you can contact every lead that you get as soon as it possibly comes in, you will see a 7, 8, 900% increase in the amount of leads that you actually convert.
Welcome to the Master Dealmaker's Secrets podcast. And now, here's sales growth strategist, John Blake.
Welcome to Master Dealmaker's Secrets. I'm John Blake. This is episode 198. And today we're going to talk about 2 key ways that you can maximize profit and protect your business or you personally from a potential downturn in 2024, which is when this is being recorded, but really you could use this in any given year. So excited to be talking to you about this really, really important subject. But before we do that, if you've got leads that you want to convert into paying clients, what I want you to do is head over to johnblakeaudio.com. And what you will find there is a training that I put together specifically for probably the biggest opportunity that I see in almost everyone's business, which is how can you convert more of the people that you've spoken to that didn't buy in your initial conversation into paying clients. So I talk to hundreds and hundreds of clients a year, and this is the biggest, most easiest to convert, lowest hanging fruit in their business. It is the people that they've spoken to, that they made an offer to, that haven't bought yet. And sadly, a lot of these people get neglected, they get forgotten about, and we pass over opportunities that we could easily have converted if we had a better system. So what you will find at johnblakeaudio.com is that system. It is the exact system that I install with my private clients that I work with. And as I said, you'll get a 15-minute audio, but what you'll also get, the audio is like really succinct. It just walks you through the whole process. But what you'll also get is a PDF guide that has all of my scripts. So the exact word for word templates, what to write in your emails, what to say when you call, what to say if you get through, what to say if you get voicemail, and how often to call and exactly when to email over a 90-day period. If you put this into practice, you will absolutely increase the number of conversions of people that you've spoken to that a lot of salespeople and a lot of businesses forget about. I have seen it work time and time again. I'm sure it'll work for you. It is at johnblakeaudio.com. So go over there, grab that, put it into practice, and let me know how you go. Okay, so we're going to talk about the 2 ways you can maximize profit and protect your business from potential downturn in 2024 or any given year for that matter. So why would we talk about this? Well, there is some talk about some economic uncertainty. We have, at the current time when I'm recording this, have had 14 consecutive interest rate rises. There has been a downturn in consumer spending. There's some uncertainty about what's happening in terms of exports with our biggest trading partner, which is China. And so how do we know? Is there going to be a downturn? I don't know whether there will be. It's certainly forecast to be a downturn, but we don't really have control over that. All we have control over are the things that we can control ourselves, right? So we only have agency or control over what we can do in our own businesses. So I'm going to give you 2 areas, one that deals with the top line and one that deals with the bottom line. So as an example, I was in business when I first started in business. It was the 80s. I'm dating myself, but I did start young. And the Keating government was in power at the time. And Paul Keating was very famously quoted as saying that we had the recession that we had to have, right? It was the recession that we had to have. But what's ironic about that is that at the time I was in the surf industry, the action sports industry, and we were getting 200% growth year on year. We could not sell enough. Our retailers were trading their asses off, and we were getting incredible growth year on year. So that didn't even affect us, didn't even touch the sides. We would not have even noticed the remotest amount of uncertainty or or anything that was going to affect our growth whatsoever. So you just never know. So as I said, one of the best things that you can do is control what you can control. If you have read Stephen Covey's book, he talks about the circle of concern versus the circle of influence. The circle of influence are the list of things that you can control, which is your behaviors, your responses to certain things that are going on around you. If you concentrate on those things, your circle of influence expands and often expands into the things that you previously didn't have control over. So I could probably do an entire episode on the circle of influence versus the circle of concern, but I'm not going to. I might do that in a future episode, only to really reinforce the fact that these are things that you can specifically do yourself. So what are the two things? Well, the first one is look at your expenses. But I'm going to give you some specific things to look at in your expenses, especially if you're a business owner. And the second one is optimizing everything that you are doing from a revenue perspective. So one thing deals with top line revenue. The other thing deals with bottom line profit. So let's look at the bottom line profit part of it first, which is looking at expenses. Now, I have done some work with a business turnaround consultant, and I learned a lot about, because he obviously deals with freeing up working capital, helping businesses to right size. So if they've got higher expenses than revenue, he has some really great ideas on how people can reduce their expenses so that their revenue continues to be more than their expenses. Like my dad says, there isn't a novel way to go broke. It's when you've got more money going out than what you have coming in. So two of the biggest ways, there's a bigger list than this, but two of the biggest ways that you can reduce expenses is print out your credit card statements and go through line by line and look for subscriptions, right? So subscriptions can free up working capital because subscriptions obviously come out every month, and they can free up quite large amounts of working capital. So there are fixed expenses, which if you have subscriptions, they become fixed expenses. But often we look through and we're subscribing to software that we don't require or that we're not using, or that we could potentially substitute with something else that's either cheaper or free. And so that's a great place to look. So subscriptions, absolutely. And then the other one is insurances. So often we are overinsured, or we are paying for insurances that we don't need. So going through all of your insurances with your insurance broker and working out what you still need and what you don't need, two really great areas that you can use to free up expenses. So that's just two places that you can look. But I guarantee you, if you print out your credit card statement and you go through line by line, you might work out that you're spending a ridiculous amount of money on coffee. You might work out that you're spending a ridiculous amount of money on takeaway lunch or takeaway dinners. That can be a really big place that you can free up some working capital. And effectively what you're doing is that you are creating a layer of insulation, so that if there is a downturn, you are better protected. As I said, you will be the least and last affected by shift in the economy. So that's the expenses part of it. The second part is optimize everything that you're doing. Now, this makes up the majority of the work that I do with clients, where we look at optimizing their revenue. And we look at optimizing their revenue from a inquiry to sales to paying client. We look at everything that happens from the moment someone inquires all the way through to them becoming a paying client. And the big areas to look here is with lead gen. So if you're doing paid lead gen, or even if you're just getting good leads through search engine optimization or search engine marketing, there, believe it or not, is on average about 70% of leads that never get contacted. Right? So if you're in as a general rule of thumb, as a bit of a benchmark, for every 100 leads that get generated, about 70 of them don't even get contacted, right? So if you've got a system that you can implement that allows you to continue to try to contact those 70% of the leads that are not contactable straight away, then you will talk to more people. And if you talk to more people, you will make more sales. So just optimizing the actual contact with initial leads, that can be a massive, massive shift. And one of the best ways that you can do that is through getting back to them faster. So I've talked about the speed of contacting new leads before, but suffice to say that if you can contact every lead that you get as soon as it possibly comes in, you will see a 7, 8, 900% increase in the amount of leads that you actually convert. So again, I could do another whole podcast on that alone. In fact, I think I probably will. But just contact your leads faster, and you will contact more of them. So instead of contacting 3 out of every 10, which is what, as I said, most businesses do, you will probably end up contacting more like 6 or 7 out of every 10, even more if depending on what niche you are in and what what it is that you're actually advertising. So that's the first one. Lots of hidden money in simply trying harder and working faster to contact your inquiries as soon as they come in. Second one is lead conversion. So learn how to better manage leads once that you're in a conversation with them. And really that comes down to the discovery. So the questions that you ask that lead to qualify them or disqualify them. It comes down to how you present your offer to them. And it also comes down to how you follow up and how you resell them once they have come to term in terms of their journey with you, and how you retain them. And so effectively, you have got opportunity to start a conversation sooner with them and then stay in that conversation longer once they buy. Now, the resource that I mentioned at the beginning of the podcast, in fact, I talk about this particular resource at the beginning of most of the podcasts, will take you a long way along that journey to optimize what's happening at the back end. So that's at johnblakeaudio.com. And that really takes care of one of the 7 ways that we optimize conversions in the businesses that I work with. The other 6 ways are being covered in my Sales Mastery Certification program, which kicks off at the end of this month. So starting February, and then probably 4 times a year, I would say, depending on how we go with the first one. First one, I'm only taking 10 people. So if you would like to be part of that, send me an email. It is John, JOHN, at john-blake.com, and I will, .com.au, I should say, and I will send you through the details. So just email me, ask me for the details about the 10-week Sales Mastery Certification. If you are a fit, it'd be great to have you in that program. As I said, I'm only taking small numbers. I'll be working one-on-one with every single person in that program. I want to create some of the best case studies, the best success stories that I've ever created in the 20 years that I've been doing this, because this is going to be the replacement for the one-day professional sales masterclass, which I have only ever run in Perth up until this particular point in time. So as I said, simply send me an email, John, JOHN, at john-blake, blake.com.au, and I will send you the details. As always, thank you for listening to the podcast. Welcome to another year of podcasting. I've got a stack of really good stuff to share with you this year. And as I said, always appreciate you listening and tuning in, and I will talk to you on the next podcast.
You've been listening to Master Dealmaker Secrets with John Blake. Subscribe to get more in-depth strategies and maximize your sales process with new episodes every other week. And double your inquiry to sale conversion with the lead flow you already have. Go to johnblakeaudio.com for his exclusive, free, no-fluff audio training and companion PDF guide.